Welcome to People Doing Good for Others. This is People Doing Good for Others. I'm Gary York, and we share and celebrate and honor those who truly make significant contributions in our communities. Thank you for being with us. And again, I'm grateful to be here. I want to thank Wilkes Communications, River Street Network, and WIFM for this opportunity. And again, thank you so much for your interest and your commitment to People Doing Good for Others. My featured guest today is Robby Timmons. We've been friends for a lifetime. We grew up in the same communities, and he's a paraplegic, a person who's been challenged significantly in life for the last 40 years, and he's going to share that story with us today. And he lives in Mount Airy by himself, rides a motorcycle, just does a lot of inspirational things to lift the spirits of people who possibly are challenged or just, he's just a positive role model for me each and every day when I think of Robby Timmons. So I'm so happy you're here, and we are in Wilkes County.
Yeah.
Your tragedy happened 40 years ago in July the 3rd, near here.
Yep.
And so you were telling Drew here a minute ago about that moment. Would you start there?
Okay. I was 19 years old, just finished my freshman year of college, and got a summertime job working with the DOT, and I got on a paving crew. And so I was driving the dump truck, and this one afternoon, July 3rd, we were out working on a project, and big thunderstorm come up, so we couldn't finish working that afternoon. So we just finished up, headed back to camp, and right up here at Highway 115, Speedway Road intersection, where it goes down and dip, as I was going through the intersection there, the dump truck hydroplaned and went up over the embankment and flipped and rolled down the embankment. And 1980, you know, there wasn't any seatbelt laws, wasn't wearing my seatbelt, so I was just tossed to and fro inside the cab and ended up changing my life from that point on.
The first moment, Robby Timmons, of after the truck stopped,
yeah.
What's going on in your mind?
Well, the first thing, you know, I was conscious through it all, and I remember the first thing is just pushing up off the floorboard. You know, I landed in the floorboard, just going to try to climb and get out. And, you know, I kept working and moving, but I, you know, couldn't get my legs to work, and I thought, well, maybe my foot's hung under the clutch or the brake or something, and you know, obstructed me from getting out. So anyway, after struggling a few minutes, I just laid there. But there's a lot of traffic on the road that day, so people got to me pretty quickly, and the ambulance got there and pulled me out and carried me on to the hospital.
Did you go immediately to the Baptist hospital?
Well, they first took me to Wilkes General, and
Okay.
they rolled me in there, and I was laying on my stomach, and they were trying to roll me over to take x-rays on my back, but I was in so much pain they couldn't get me over. And so they ended up, the doctor just said put him back in the ambulance and take him on to Winston. And I guess somewhere between here and Winston I blacked out, passed out, I don't know. I don't remember anything till maybe 2 days later. So.
And you've told me several times about waking up in a cold dungeon kind of room and
Well, no, that part was later on. You know, I ended up 3.5 months in the hospital, going to rehab, you know, and learning to adjust to life in a wheelchair.
How'd you adjust to that?
Well, it was
the
by
strength of the Lord,
the grace of God. You know, first thing, if we back up a little bit, I wasn't saved before my accident. but I got saved through my accident. And just the grace of God and just His strength and me relying and trusting on Him to get me through each and every day. And
do you remember making a decision about, I'm going to make the best out of this? Do you remember a moment like that?
I know exactly. Talking about that little dungeon part, when they took us over to Forsyth Hospital, that summer that I had my wreck, there was about 5 or 6 of us that were in there. And I was the only one that lost the use of my legs. All the other guys, they were in there, and they were basically paralyzed from the neck down. They couldn't do anything but turn their head. And I remember they used to roll us down into the basement, which was like a dungeon.
Yeah.
And they would give us physical therapy. And they'd just line all of us up in the wheelchairs, beside each other. They'd roll us down together. They'd take each individual, they'd put us on the table, give us our exercises, stretch our legs and arms and stuff, put us back in the chair, and then get the next one. Well, I had learned how to pop wheelies in my wheelchair and spin around and just clown around. And I remember one day, the guy next to me, his name was Myron. And I was cutting up, spinning around, popping wheelies, and just entertaining them while I was down there. And when I was done, I just rolled up right beside Myron, and he just looked over at me. And he was paralyzed from the neck down. And he says, I wished I had what you have. He said, I played in a bluegrass band, and I played the banjo. And he said, if I could do what you're doing, he said, I could just sit right here in my wheelchair and play my banjo. And that was the moment I realized, you don't have to look far for somebody to want to trade places with you. And I was 19, and I thought, if this guy would want to be in my situation, then I must not be pretty bad off. And so I've never forgot that story. And so every day is just a grace from God, a grace of God. And every day I just try to do the best I can. My motto is, I do what I can do, and then God will do what I can't do.
Robby Timmons, you spoke of not being saved, but you were saved through this challenge, if you will.
Well, the difference is, I grew up knowing about God. I had a praying granny, and that woman knew how to pray.
Praying granny.
She is a Pentecostal, and she knew how to pray through. And so I grew up knowing God. But knowing God and then asking Him to be your Lord and Savior is 2 different things. And I had never asked the Lord to come in to my heart and be the Lord of my life. And it was through that accident, laying down there in the Baptist hospital.
That's when it happened?
Yeah, laying in the hospital, I thought, you're there with all your thoughts. And I thought, if I'd have died in this wreck, I'd be in hell right now. And that's someplace I didn't want to go. So I just asked the Lord to come into my heart and be my Savior. And I can truly, honestly say these last 40 years have been nothing but a blessing. My life has been blessed, and I've tried to use my life to glorify Him for what He's done for me. And because, like I say, you don't have to look far to find somebody that's got a little bit worse off than you. And so through these years, I've tried to think about, what's my purpose? God gives us gifts. Each one of us have gifts. And I think part of my gift is maybe the gift of encouragement, the gift of affirmation, to affirm somebody. And over these last 40 years, I've visited and seen a lot of people with similar injuries to mine. And that's what I try to do. I go and visit them. After I leave here today, I'm going to visit this young gentleman in Winston-Salem.
In a similar
Yep, same
situation?
type of injury.
Same thing.
So I just try to encourage them, let them know that, life doesn't end, that life, you can still be blessed. If you're determined, you can do anything you want to do. Like you say, I retired about 6 months ago. I bought me a motorcycle. Here's a paraplegic, gets out, right, it's a 3-wheel motorcycle, and I get out and I'm just like a kid again. And so my best friend in high school lives in LA. I got one sister in Dallas, one sister in Miami. So whenever I want to go on vacation somewhere, I just got to decide, hey, where do I want to go? So I just jump on a plane, go. I've been all over the country, and my life has been blessed. Another footnote to that, about 6-7 years after my accident, I was able to get back on with the DOT. Got a desk job, worked there for 30 years, retired from the DOT. Worked with some wonderful people, had some great bosses, and all, and so life's been good. I had a career, and now I've
We
retired
were
from
spending
that.
time at the Reeves Y,
Yeah, well, basically-
and you were teaching weight training.
Yeah,
and I'm
well, I
thinking,
basically
my
had
goodness.
2 careers. I had the career with the DOT, and I would work there from 8 to 5, and then 3 nights a week I would work from 5 to 9. I'd go into the Reeves Community Center as a personal trainer, a fitness instructor at the Reeves. I did that for 28
And a
years.
spiritual instructor.
Well, yeah, that too.
Oh, yeah.
And all, and getting back to that encouragement thing, I realized working down there at the Reeves, especially with young guys, when you encourage them and you're complimenting them and, tell them how good they look and how great their training and all that, it's amazing the response you get when you're positive. When you're always giving positive and encouragement, people respond a whole lot better than they do to negativity. And so I've always found that, to be an encourager, to encourage them, affirm them, say, hey, look.
Affirm them.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're doing great, and
Yeah.
so that's what I try to do now, now that I'm retired. Years ago, in my 20s, 30s, 40s, I was involved with the Big Sisters, Big Brothers program, and I did that. And one thing I took away from that is the main thing they wanted you to do in the Big Sisters, Big Brothers program is be consistent.
Consistent.
Yep. When you see a kid, just don't do it whenever you feel like it. Be consistent. To see them every week. And I've tried to do that, and I did that through that program, which my kids, the boys that I saw through that, they kind of aged out when they get 18, and so I've moved on from that. But now that I'm retired, I go into the nursing homes. I go and visit
Nursing
people
homes.
in nursing homes, and then I go to the skilled nursing facilities. Where I hear about people that's, had injuries like mine. And I don't, just me, I don't just do it one time. I take that same lesson from the Big Brothers, Big Sisters, be consistent. I want to let them know that I care. And so I try to go and see them every week, and...
So you have like a schedule day by day?
I do,
Yeah.
There's certain facilities, there's one in Elkin I go to see, there's one in Winston, 2 or 3 in Mount Airy. But just being active, and these people I go to see, it's just through relations or word of mouth, or somebody refers me to go see them. This gentleman I go see, he's my little Jamaican buddy, Mr. Black. I got to know him through Miss Miller.
Yeah.
You put me and Miss Miller
Billy.
together.
Yeah, Billy. Yeah.
And so when I would go and visit her, I kept coming across Mr. Black's path. And so I struck up a conversation with him, and now we're buddies. But now he moved over here from Jamaica about 40-some years ago. He has no family or anybody here. And so I just decided, okay, I'm going to adopt him. He's going to be my buddy.
You've adopted him,
Yeah.
kind of. Oh, I love that.
So we hang out. The skilled nursing facility where he's at, they allow me to pick him up once a week, and I can take him out, ride him around, and get a hamburger or whatever like that. But him and these others, I just try to make a point to be consistent. Let them know that I care.
What do you do when we all have sad times, down times? What do you have a thing that you just turn to?
Well, the thing is, I've always heard that, people that have my type of injury, when you go from being totally healthy like I was, all the way up through high school, playing sports, football, baseball, basketball, I mean, everything, never no major injury. And to go from being totally healthy to now your life is in a wheelchair, they say a lot of people go through depression. Well, I've never experienced that because I've always experienced the goodness of God. And so I try to convey that to these other people. When I go to visit them, people with my same injuries, or Mr. Black, the elderly. Because, wherever we go, we have the light of God on the inside of us. So when we go into a room or a situation, we have the ability to change the environment. If it's doom and gloom or darkness, if you got the light of God on the inside of you, when you go into that room, that atmosphere is going to change. And that's what I try to do. I try to go in wherever I'm at, visiting whoever I'm visiting. I just try to, change the atmosphere. Because you go in these nursing homes, it's really sad. It's a lot of doom and gloom in those places. And, I just want to try to carry the light of God into those places. The light of God.
Robby Timmons is the light of God, the places you go every day.
Well, that's just God going with me. It's God working in me.
Yeah.
And I just always want to praise Him. I want to honor Him. He's blessed me, and that's what God does. He blesses us to be a blessing to somebody else. We're just a conduit.
Carry the message.
He comes down, He blesses us, and by Him blessing us, He wants us to go out and bless other people. And that's what I've always tried to do. I've always been a big admirer of John Wooden. I've shared that with you, the great basketball coach. And as wonderful a coach as he ever was, he was an even greater human being. He was a greater man. And he has a lot of these little phrases, I don't know what you call them, but these little quotes. And one of his quotes is, and I've always lived by it too, is you can't live a perfect day without doing something for someone who will never be able to repay you. And I like that.
Never be able to repay it.
Never be able to repay. You can't live a perfect day without doing something for someone who will never be able to repay you.
So you have an unconditional gift to people every day, that knowing that person won't be able to give it back.
Yeah, and you don't do it, what I do, going and visiting and befriending these people, it's not for anything to look at me, look what I'm doing. That's not what I do. I try to do it to glorify God and what He's done in my life. And I've always believed that what you give out, it'll come back to you. So if you're giving out love, if you're giving out encouragement, if you're giving out kindness, that's going to come back to you. But if you're giving out criticism and doom and gloom, that's going to come back to you. And I just choose to be positive.
Yeah.
And in my daily walk, everything I do, I want to be positive, stay positive, speak positive.
You're I call you the Grand Marshal of our charity golf tournament every October, and you're so well dressed and put together in a special way, and when you hand out the golf balls when they start, it's just like it wouldn't be the same without you there, and your spirit is so alive in people.
Yeah.
How do you, it's the Robby Timmons tournament, charity tournament for the Elkin Rescue Squad, and
well, I just so appreciate you.
But that's a key part of that day. The I guess how we overcome or how we meet the challenges of the day, and everybody needs that.
Yeah, and one thing that I do try to convey, the best way for you to be blessed is, get your eyes off yourself. if you can be a blessing to somebody else, you know, see them reach their goals, you know, see them accomplish what they can do. You know, that's where the blessing comes to you, you know, getting your eyes off of self and putting it on somebody else. And so I just, like I say, I know where I was, and now I know where I'm going. And God has been, you know, just very instrumental in my whole life.
Yeah.
And I just try to glorify Him in everything I do.
Yeah.
You know, just trying to be
Tell us
positive.
about your family, Robby Timmons.
Okay, growing up, I couldn't have had a better childhood. Both my parents were school teachers. My dad was a phys ed teacher and coach for 36 years.
Renowned coach.
And from an early age, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be just like my dad. My dad was my hero. And I was going to college.
Robby Timmons.
Yep, I was going to college to be a PE teacher and coach just like my dad. And but July 3rd, 1980, that all changed. But even though my dream changed, it didn't mean it changed for the worst. I mean, my life changed, my career changed, but it was still a blessing. I mean, my life has been blessed. But growing up, I couldn't have asked for a better childhood. Dad being a PE teacher and all, just like your dad.
Yeah.
You know, I know your dad. My dad, you know, he spent quality time with me and my sisters, you know, out in the yard. I mean, he gave us time, you know, playing sports. You know, if it was football, we were tossing the football. If it was basketball, we were shooting basketball. Baseball, tossing. I mean, so I couldn't ever ask for a better childhood. And growing up in Mount Airy, Dad was from Mount Airy. My mom was from here in Wilkes County. They met at college. And Dad, he went to college on a basketball scholarship. And so I was just wanting to follow in his steps. That's what I wanted to do. And but things change, but they can change for the better, and they did. And so yeah, it was just great. And my parents, they still live in the same house. You know, your parents' property and my parents' property, they back up to each other.
They do.
And
yeah.
also, you're
that
right.
connection.
We growed up together, and
Yeah.
you was up on the hill, I was at the bottom of the hill. And but they're still there. They're doing great. And
How about some individuals? Can you, some people along the way that
I can.
you say, I want to make sure I talk about?
Well, this one, Lester Holcomb, he was my high school basketball coach. And I'd already been gone from high school a year. I was 19. But when he heard about my accident, he used to come and visit me in the hospital. And just like I said, being consistent. He was consistent in coming to see me. And never will forget, he was always like, Robbie, you can beat this. You can overcome this. He was an encourager. He kept encouraging me. He says, you're going to get better. You're going to beat this. You know, you're going to be fine. And never will forget that. A couple of my buddies, when I come home from the hospital, Richard Horton, Craig Atkins, two of my closest buddies. I was at home in the house, and they would come over and literally pick me up, put me in their car, fold my wheelchair up, take me to the gym to work out. And they got me out of the house. And so I would go to the gym, they would pick me up, and I would roll up to the Nautilus machines, and I'd just slide out of my wheelchair up onto the Nautilus machines and just lift the weights, and I was able to build my upper body up. And through them and through their encouragement, I was able to go from the wheelchair to a walker and get around on the walker and all that. So, yeah, it wasn't me alone. You know, I've had people all along the way, Coach Holcomb, Richard, Craig. You know, there was always people there encouraging me. And also, I've never forgot that, and I've always applied that to, you know, my life and how I approach people too. Is that, yeah.
So you travel a lot.
I do.
Let's kind of navigate that a bit. You know, we talked about coming in the front door here, or
Yeah.
the side door. You said, I can make it work.
Yeah.
So that's been part of life, is working through. Is that what you
Yeah,
say? You just had to work
learn,
through things.
You learn to adjust. You see an obstacle, if you can't go, like you got steps right out here. Well, if you can't come up the steps, well, okay, there's an alternative. So you find a way to get in the building. So around the front of the building here, there was a ramp. So I was like, okay, I can go in that way.
So I sent pictures of
Yeah.
the beautiful ramp here at
Yeah.
Wilkes Communications.
So very easy, very simple, but in anything, whether it's getting in the door of a building or whatever, if you're determined to do something, you can do it. And also,
So you became more determined as life has gone on?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and like I say, it's a challenge to get on airplanes, but I do it. You know, when I get on a plane on my walker, instead of walking down the aisle straight ahead, I have to turn the walker sideways and kind of scoot down sideways
Robby Timmons.
to get to my
Thank
seat.
you.
But you can.
There's a will, there's a way.
There's a will, there's a way, and yeah, you just if you're determination, that'll take you a long way.
Tell us about your church.
Okay, my high school basketball coach, he ended up becoming a pastor, and it started out, my church I go to is a Agape Faith Church. It's down in Clemens, and it started out as a home Bible study.
Bible study.
Yep, and we would meet on Monday nights for just home Bible study, and maybe 5, 6, 7 couples used to come, and it was out of that home Bible study that Agape Faith Church started. And Pastor Whitfield, he's the...
Now go back again. The 4 or 5 of you just met when it started.
Them and their wives, yeah. And
oh my gosh.
And I think out of that home Bible study, Agape Faith Church was established. And I think the first Sunday church we had, it started out with like 8 people. And 38 years later, now it's like 3,000. And so God's doing something right. I mean, God is in it. And Coach Holcomb, the one that stayed on me, that would come and, after I got out of the hospital, he would come by Mom and Dad's house to check on me. And then one day he showed up and he says, like, Rob, you got to come to this Bible study. He says, it's awesome. And so there he was again, encouraging me, and so I started going with him and his wife to the home Bible study on Monday nights, and from there turned into Agape Faith Church, and it's just been going strong ever since.
3,000 people.
Yeah.
Where is it?
It's right on Louisville Clemens Road. It's in Clemens, North Carolina. Yep.
So every Sunday you're going to be there?
I'm there.
Wow.
It's about a 50-minute drive, but like our church says, a church alive is worth the drive. And so they come from all over. They come from Lexington, Greensboro, Forsyth County, Statesville. They come from all over. But it's God. God's in it.
Robby Timmons, I'm just so inspired each and every moment we're together, and I've been looking forward to you coming over here. And what a blessing. The spiritual lifts of being around Robby Timmons is just, it's remarkable that you've chosen. Would you kind of wind down for us? I'd like for you to talk about choosing to be better, choosing to be a light, choosing to be a great example for people. Do that for me.
Well, I truly believe everybody has a purpose. I truly believe God gives every individual certain gifts. The gifts that I flow in may not necessarily be the same gifts you flow in. I mean, you look at Billy Graham. He flowed in a certain gift, but everybody's not called to be a Billy Graham. He flowed in the gifts that God gave him. I truly believe God gives each and every one of us special gifts, and it's up to us to find out what those gifts are.
So your paralysis is really a gift, then?
I look at it that way.
Okay,
I look
that's
at
a
it
choice.
that way. Yeah, because I don't look at it as a bad thing. It was a good thing. It got my life, going in a certain direction. It got me on board to my purpose in life. I don't know what my purpose would have been had it not been for this. And see, the thing is, God can take something bad and turn it around for good. And
if you follow Him.
And my accident, it was bad. It was a tragedy, a 19-year-old boy. But God turned that around, and He's made something good out of it. And it's given me direction. It's given me purpose to get up every day. And as soon as I get up, I'm like, okay, what are we going to do today, God? Show me someone or direct my path. Where can I go? Who can I see? Who can I encourage today? Who can I be an encourager to? And so, we all have gifts. And like I say, I just think my gift has been the gift to be an encourager to someone else who maybe be going through the same struggle that I'm going through, or maybe not necessarily an injury, but just something that life. Life happens.
There is that of God in all of us.
Yeah.
And we have a light to shine.
Yeah, we do. And so if I can make, and it's not about me, but if I can make someone's life a little better, their burden a little lighter, just through a word of encouragement, then I think we're better for it.
Yeah.
And like I say, I've always thought that what goes out of you will come back to you.
Yeah.
And so I just try to be an encourager wherever I go, and just give God all the praise and glory. Because
let the light shine.
If you look at this life, you're seeing the grace of God right here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm living the life, the
They
grace of
told me
God.
you're living a dream.
That's what I say. I'm living the dream.
Thank you, Robby Timmons, for blessing WIFM and people doing good for others. And just want to give you applause, a big hug for blessing us today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Robby Timmons, Mountaineer, North Carolina, 40-year paraplegic, a disciple, an apostle, an outreach of our Lord. Thank you for being with us today, and I want to thank Wilkes Communications, River Street Network, and WIFM for this opportunity. Until we can be together again, I'm Gary York, and this is People Doing Good for Others, and that's the way we should live every day. Thank you.